Hi everyone, and welcome to or back to my booktube channel, and welcome to another reading wrap up. Today we are going to be discussing the 12 books I read in the month of September. And yeah, I would say this month was a really good month of reading, and so I'm super excited to be talking to you about all of these books. And let's just go ahead and dive right in. So the first two books I read in the month were Unravel Me and Fracture Me. And then later on in the month, I read Ignite Me, but I'm just going to briefly talk about them all right now because they're in the middle of the Shatter Me series, so A, I can't really say much, B, if you haven't read these, you really don't care. Honestly, if you did read these, you probably don't remember these specific books, you know what I mean? So I'm just gonna briefly talk about them. I remember thinking this one was pretty slow, but then once the plot thickened, like I was pretty hooked throughout the rest of the book. And I even had to start annotating and tabbing a few because the lines were so good and I really enjoyed this. And then next for Fracture Me, I remember not wanting to read this, but I didn't want to skip any books. But this book surprised me, and yeah, not my favorite POV, but I still did enjoy this. And then the last Shatter Me book I picked up for the month was Ignite Me. And I remember not being able to put this down, like I was reading it in big chunks of time. So I feel like that's a good sign. And I remember really liking like where this ended off. And I think this is where the book series was supposed to end. Don't quote me on that. But I could see how that was supposed to happen. Regardless, I'm excited to continue this series in the month of October. Oh, and as for star ratings, I gave like both of these around 4 stars. And then I don't really have a rating on this, but it wasn't bad. Okay, and then the next 3 books I read were in the Boyfriend Chooses My TBR video. So if you haven't already watched that, you definitely should, but I guess I'm about to kind of spoil that video. Regardless, it was a really fun reading vlog and I think you should still watch it, but I'm going to talk about these really quickly. I finally read Fourth Wing and it was amazing. 5 stars. I don't really have anything else to say. I loved this book so much. I annotated it and had so much fun. It made me want to dive more into fantasy more than ever, honestly. And yeah, I'm so excited for Iron Flame. I'm so glad we're almost to November so I can read the second book of this. The next book Justin picked out for me in that video was Killer Instinct, and I loved this book. This book was so much better than the first, and I don't exactly know why that is. I think it has to do with like the development of this like love triangle going on, and don't go into this book thinking about the romance, it's just a plot, but regardless, I really enjoyed that. And then as well as like just the plot, like the story in this book was my favorite out of the 2 so far. And I'm so excited to continue the series. However, I think this might be the best book, so I'm kind of nervous for that, but this book was so good. I remember it left me in the best mood. The star rating for this is a 4.75. Literally so close to a 5 stars, but not quite. All right, and then after a really good surprise, I unfortunately was met with a bit of a disappointing read. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this. I love Ali Hazelwood's writing. I will forever read anything that she publishes, but this book didn't really do it for me like her others have. The thing is, I really liked our main character, Jack. However, I didn't love Elsie in this. I just felt like being in her POV like didn't even matter that much. I still feel like I didn't know what was inside her brain when it came to their interactions. And I just felt like he was better at communicating than she was. And I feel like I ranted in that video that I'm referring to about this, so I'm not gonna say anything more than that. But I still had a lot of fun, and this was just a really unique concept. I just really liked the storyline. I thought that was very original and it was a lot of fun. I don't know if I said this, but 4.25 stars for this one. Next up, we went right back to surprising reads, and I read the first 2 books in the Vampire Academy series, and I had so much fun. Now, not so much in this first one. This was kind of, you know, an introduction. We had to figure out what was going on, and I still don't know what's going on. But I gave this book like a 3 stars. Like I wasn't loving it. At first I was like, should I DNF this? And I was like, no, I've already bought like the next 2 or 3 books. I have to keep going. And then I did, and it was worth it. And then it was even more worth it when I got to Frostbite and I devoured this book. Rochelle Mead's writing was so much better in this book. I feel like she kind of figured out the direction she wanted the series to go in. And yeah, it just got way better in this book. So if by some chance you pick up this YA series from so long ago about vampires, and you read this one and you're like, oh my gosh, this sucked, give this a shot first. But also, I don't know if I'm recommending the series. I don't have any words. But I did have a lot of fun with it. And especially during fall. This has just been a fun, like, guilty pleasure. Oh my gosh, I feel like we're just going from like surprising read to disappointment, surprising to disappointment. And that leads us to our next disappointment. That sounds so harsh. I don't mean it like that. I just definitely overhyped this book, and I probably will overhype all of Elsie Silver's books just because I love her writing. But this book just did not do it for me. I think I gave this like a 3.5. I might have given it a 3.75, and I think I might knock that down because, like, looking back on my time with this book, I did not enjoy it. Also, I'm sorry about the lighting. I feel like the lighting is changing a lot in this video, so my apologies. But I love Elsie Silver. I am going to read whatever she puts out. But now I'm about to do a hot take here. Very unpopular opinion. I don't love childhood friends to lovers. I know. I feel like that's everyone's favorite trope. And you know what? It's just never done it for me. And I thought this book may change my mind, but it did not. And that's sad. I think I talked about this in a video as well, but basically I just enjoyed my time in this book when they were talking about other characters rather than our two main characters, and that's not really a great sign. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm gonna leave this. Okay, and now I've also talked about this book recently. It's Dead Romantics. And first things first, I recommend this book. And I will be recommending it to myself again next fall because I think this was a case of right book, wrong time. And the writing was so beautiful. I definitely want to read more from Ashley Poston. And I'm excited to give this another shot, but I just couldn't get into it. And I don't really know why. Well, I kind of know why. It was like paranormal-ish. It's like a paranormal love story, and that's not really my vibe. And so I really should have waited to pick this up until I wanted to read something like that, although I don't know if that time would have ever come. Anyways, I really, like I said, recommend this. This was a fairly short book too, so if you are interested in a paranormal love story that is short this fall, I highly recommend this book. Like I said, beautiful writing. Speaking of enjoying somebody's writing, I surprisingly picked up The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This was not on my September TBR, but I got it from the bookstore and I was like, you know what? I kind of just want to read this. And there's so much fun in that, like going to buy a book and immediately reading it. And that's exactly what I did. I think I'm gonna give this like 4-ish stars. It was so cute, very wholesome. Like I feel like that's a good word to describe this book. It was very refreshing as well. Like going between genres and romances, this was a really good read. I will definitely be picking up more from Catherine Center. I thought the dynamic here was so fun. Once again, a very original story of her being his bodyguard. And for once, I didn't hate the third act conflict of this book. I felt like it kind of made sense and it had me, so loved this. And that brings us to our last book of September, and that is A Court of Silver Flames. Now, this massive book is about like 750 pages, and I read about like 500 or so in September. So I'm putting this in my September wrap-up video because I finished the last 200 pages on October 1st, but I'm gonna put it in September. I hope that's okay with you. I think I'm gonna give this, no, I don't know. It's somewhere 3.75/4 stars, in my opinion. It was just so long. And the other books in the series were long and I still loved them. So that's how I know this book just wasn't my favorite because, like I've said in a previous video, I loved A Court of Wings and Ruin and A Court of Mist and Fury, but this book just didn't exactly do it for me. And I don't know if that's because we were following a different character in this book, but yeah. I will say I was surprised by like the friendships in this book and the characters. I didn't know that certain characters were going to be in this book so much. and I really did enjoy that. I will say I'm super excited that I am all caught up in the ACOTAR series, and I feel like it was a good way to close September and start October. And here we have it. Here are the 12 books I read in September. Anyways, I hope you had a great month of reading as well. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what your favorite book was this month. And as always, I hope you're having a great day, reading a good book, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye guys.